we love our differences when it comes to food.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want Italian, I want Mexican, I want American, I want French, I want Chinese. We love that. Mm-hmm. You know, but when it comes to people, not so much. Welcome, everybody, to the Lionz Den, episode 16. Again, my name is Eddy.
Yeah, I'm Daryl.
I'm Brad.
This is Alex.
And everybody still had the same names.
Yep.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, share, get the word out there.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell everybody you possibly can.
Your dogs, your cats.
If they know how to like and share, please. Today, we wanted to talk about why we are so focused on our differences instead of our commonality. And the reason why we felt we should talk about it, it crosses a lot of different lines and goes into tons of different areas. I've seen it as much as I ever have, probably in the last. When has Trump started?
He's 16.
So, over the last 5 years, 6 years, just seems to be at an all-time,
Before that, yeah.
I mean, definitely. But
definitely.
Really, like, pick a side type thing.
For sure.
More so than I've seen. I mean, it 100% has always been there on some level, but seeing it more than ever, especially currently. And what we're kind of talking about is... and we really try to avoid politics, but just to kind of delve into it a little bit. So if you're putting mustard on my hot dog, I don't want a liberal amount. It's too much. I don't want a conservative amount. It's too little. I want the right amount, the amount that I want. I don't want too much. I don't want too little. I want the right amount.
Goldilocks.
In the middle.
Somewhere in the middle.
I have never, out of all the political analogies, ever have I heard it compared to a Chicago-style hot dog.
Yeah.
It's actually genius.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, guys. I don't know what the hell happened to that, why we've gotten away from that. And, our Constitution and their infinite brilliance, they decided, hey, we're going to have people on this side and we're going to have people on that side. And because of that, we're going to have lively debates about it. And we're going to find a happy medium that works for most people. That theory has gone completely to shit. A lot of it is labeling. So just like those labels, liberal, conservative, we love to throw those labels on. So, we've talked about it in quite a few episodes. Roe versus Wade obviously is at an all-time fury high. Pro-life. I'm pro-life. I think most people are pro-life. I don't know anybody who's, hey, I'm pro-life. I'm not. I want to kill shit as often as possible. Pro-choice. I'm pro-choice too. I think we all want choices. But you got to pick a side. Either you're pro-life or you're pro-choice. Well, wait a second. I'm both. And who the hell came up with this shit? And who the hell are you to tell me I got to pick one side or the other? And why can't both have a conversation and find a happy medium? And, I picked that one very specifically because, probably the thing that aggravates me more than anything. So pro-life. So, we believe that life starts at the moment of conception. We should save innocent life. We had a little thing called COVID over the last couple of years. I don't even know what the number is up to. Over 1 million died. Yeah,
that's a good movie title, though. Little thing called COVID.
Little thing called COVID. Over 1 million people died. So I just want everybody to kind of think about if you have $1 million in your hand, are you happy? That's a lot of freaking people.
Yeah.
Hey guys, we have this vaccine. If you take it, it's going to save lives. I don't want to take it. I should have a choice if I should take it or not. Agreed. I think that's great. Key word, you should have a choice to take it or not. Yeah, but if you take it, it's going to save more life. Well, yeah, but you're taking away my choice. So I hope people that are sitting on that can really ruminate and think about that a little bit. The thing that bugs me the most, and we're really going to dive into this, is when we really focus in on our differences instead of our commonality, we inevitably become hypocrites. Mm-hmm. Because the reality is nobody is ever all the way left, all the way right. We're always in the middle or somewhere in that frame, depending on the subject. So I'm pro-life as long as it's not affecting my life. Those are harming innocent children. Not so pro-life when you have to inconvenience me, take away my choice, take away my right to choose. Do I vaccine, not vaccine? Now, if you talk to those people, which we have, well, I'm not so sure if it works. And I'm not so sure if it's healthy for me. Very reasonable, good points. You know, I get it. Makes total sense. People on the pro-choice side says, well, what if I'm going to die if I had this child? You know, what if I was raped? What if this happened? Don't want to hear none of that. You got to have it. Innocent life. So again, it's funny how we love that choice because now you're affecting me. Now you're affecting decisions I made. You're affecting my body.
Right.
But not trying to hear that on the other side. And our point isn't what's right, what's wrong. Point Lionz Den is always, let's look at that. Let's have that conversation. And are we having those conversations honestly? So, I mean, that's kind of where we'll start out. I don't know, kind of what you think with that, Daryl.
So I was thinking about it, and I think that it's an agenda to divide. That's why it's been so, polarizing as far as this side or that side. Because in every situation where you try to divide humans, people, the first step is separation. So, like, if we, and anybody that's in law enforcement will understand this, or anybody that, has done any kind of cordon and search and stuff like that. When I used to detain people, groups, the first thing we do after we detain them is separate them. All right. And because once you separate them, one, they can't get a story together. They can't do little signals and winks and stuff. They can't communicate with each other, so they can't get on the same page. So separation stops that ability to get on the same page. Mm-hmm. So the only reason for us as a country to not be able to get on the same page is because we're focusing on that divide, and it's being pushed, through radio and TV and everything. Is always, well, if you believe this, then you have to be this person. Because if you don't believe that, then you're not a Democrat. If you don't believe that, then you're not a Republican. And I don't believe that there's just two. I don't believe everything that Democrats stand by. I don't believe everything that Republicans stand by. And I'm not a joiner. So I can't I just don't join stuff. I'm all joined out. So I've done enough of that. So I can't just subscribe to any particular side, because there's no way that I'm just going to believe what they say because we like the same symbol. We like an elephant or we like a fucking donkey. No. If you say something dumb and you're a Democrat, well, that's stupid. If you say something dumb and you're a Republican, that's stupid. A libertarian is stupid. It doesn't matter what club you consign to. Is what you're saying making sense at the time you're saying it. And if you can think like that and just be a free thinker, it'll make everybody's life easier. But why people don't do that is because it takes effort. Because a lot of the people I see who are quick to sign up for either side are people who don't want to think. Right. So, this guy he said some shit I like, so I'm going to go with him. He kind of thinks like what I think, so I'm going to let him do the thinking. And then I don't have to. Just fucking, I'll vote for him because he, we both agreed on this one thing. So fuck it, we agree on everything. Right. Imagine that if you just did that your whole life.
Well, so you don't have to imagine. It's most people.
Yeah. But I'm saying no, put it in your life with everything. Right. Yeah, he liked it. So right. I'll have that too. I've never been there. At a restaurant, I've never been there. I'll have this. I'm going to have what he's having. No, what is that? what's in it? No, I don't want that. You know? So it's the ability to just think for yourself and, you know, I guess not be lazy and up top. But you don't see that. You know, a lot of people want the easy way. I'm voting for this person because this person, you know, is on the blue side or the red side. Mm-hmm. And it just keeps perpetuating that divide.
No, agree.
I think I might have talked about this before, but, you know, after 9/11, like immediately after, one of the things I remember about that time was, you know, the day after, like just driving around and seeing flags. Like just everybody had flags and, you know, from their car, from their truck, from what, like, when you're like, all right, like you're like proud, you felt that togetherness
as a country. Yeah, it felt like a country. Yeah.
Right. It was like, yes. Now when I'm driving down the road and I see a pickup truck with a flag waving behind it, I'm kind of like, what a hillbilly fuck, you know? Like, I mean, like that's just,
you don't get the same feeling.
It's and even I have to catch myself because I'm like, what the hell? Like just a few years ago, I would have been like, yeah, you know, like, right. So it's funny how it's not really funny, but it's just even me personally, like, you know, when I look at that, I'm like, how did I even go from that belief to now like, that's kind of a weird thing to be, you know, to be doing. And you're right. And it is, I don't know if it's by design or what, but there is this, you either subscribe to this side or that side. Mm-hmm. And then everything we see on social media and everything is, you know, on the news, it's designed to, well, you're either this side or this side. And I do like your restaurant analogy of like, well, I'm not just going to get that because that's what he got. You know, that's, but I think as a country, we're really starting to do that.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just people in general. The more we separate, kind of to your point, the less we have trust. And I think the less that you have trust in other people, I mean, it's just that you don't trust that they're going to have your best interests in what they're doing. And I think that's when we start to focus more in on things that we have disagreements than trying to get on the same page with people, because I don't trust you. I don't think anything you're saying is valid because I think you have an agenda. And that's because instead of getting to know each other or to maybe ask more questions, we just make assumptions based on previous experiences, and that lack of trust doesn't allow us to actually get to know that person. I mean, people, especially like, and I don't want to just, this is an easy example, like myself, you know, we all are tattooed. I've got tattoos on my hands, my fingers, you know, I can tell when we go certain places, like my wife and my daughter, like I'll get looks and people are kind of like already have that preconceived notion of, well, you know, this person must be into this or that. If only you knew I had a podcast. It's about Jesus Christ and God. Right. You know, I mean, it's.
Do you like IPAs?
Huh? Do I like IPAs? Yeah. I don't drink a ton of beer. Yeah, I don't. I don't drink a ton of beers.
Are you a chef?
Huh?
Are you a chef?
I can grill. Yeah, I can grill. And I deer hunt. And I don't drive a pickup truck. In case you were wondering for the next question. But I mean, it's funny. We laugh about it. But how true is that? I mean, how true is it that you just, based on someone's appearance or the vehicle that they drive or a situation that you currently catch them in, 24 hours in a day, you may see a 5-minute snippet or less of somebody, and you have a preconceived notion about what that person is because of the things that they're into, the things that they probably believe in. I don't talk about politics at all. As long as this podcast runs, you'll never hear me tell anything about sides. All I will tell you is, if you knew me and you knew the things that I was into, the person you think I'd be cool with, it's the complete opposite. Yeah. So the whole point of me sharing that is because you have to take the time to get to know people. And to your point, and especially to the topic's point of why do people gravitate to the disagreement opposed to coming together, is it's easier.
It's way easier.
You know, people are like electricity. And if you know anything about electricity, it takes the path of least resistance. Yep. Mm-hmm. People are the same exact way. You know, you may even have a little bit of, well, I know I should do this, or I probably should talk to this person, but I don't really want to. It's a lot easier to look the other way. You know, a lot of people, I mean, to simplify it, there's a TV series that's out there, and I don't remember the name of it, but it's basically they plant the situation, and the people involved in the situation are actors or actresses, and they bring normal people into the situation to see how they react with it. And you always tell yourself, I'm the person, I would never stand for that. You would never see that happening around me. And then you're in the moment. Well, it's easier just to walk away because we don't like confrontation. We don't like whatever the case is. Why we're like that, what caused that as people, I think the answer is selfishness. Where it stemmed from, I think the answer is unlimited possibilities, So,
I mean, that's a perfect segue and really why I wanted to talk about this. So, a couple episodes we talked about being a lion among sheep. And we're all kind of grazing that. I mean, I keep hearing agenda and stuff like that. And I think that's 100% right. I think the simple answer as far as what is that agenda is, continuation of power, holding on to power, money, so on and so forth. When I really thought about it, especially when we were talking about this topic, I think the agenda is all fear. I truly, sincerely do. Because fear is kind of the root of all that. Fear of losing power, fear of losing money.
That's a good point.
Fear of, I don't know this person, where are they coming from, what are they up to? Fear of we're losing our values, fear of we're losing our faith, fear of this country isn't what it used to be. All these different things that, people are seeing genuine changes that are going on, some of which are good, some of which aren't good. And people are terrified of losing that. And we're all susceptible to that. So we're talking a little bit about, it was right when Obama was I think he was about to be, I had a really good feeling he was about to be elected. And there was a lot of talk about an assault rifle ban. And at that time, I think there was some zombie movies out that were getting me like a little skittish.
They were really close, yeah.
I was just about to be married, so I started getting really like aggressive, protect my wife, protect my homestead type thing. There were civil wars being talked about, race wars being talked about. Anyways, went out, got an AR.
John Wick, baby.
John Wicked it. So it's got a beautiful scope. I could flip it. Red dot pops up when the zombies and or Civil War breaks out. So I got you on both. You'll remember this, Brad. And I got, I don't even know, 4 or 5 other firearms. And so I'm a gun owner. I'm all for it. Fully believe in, our right to bear arms.
The choice.
But I got pulled into the hype. I'm ready. And the days, here we come. Let's bring this shit on. And shot it a couple times. For the most part, that's been sitting in my closet. Don't use it a whole lot. I'm still here. Zombie apocalypse hasn't happened. Civil War hasn't happened. Race war hasn't happened. All of these things, thank God. There's children getting shot in the face with them. So we're not talking, grazed, whatever, shot in the face. So, we talked a little bit about this pro-life thing, and there's babies being murdered with these assault rifles. And again, when we start talking about choice and what that choice means, we have to be open to all those things. Now, everybody at this table, we're all responsible gun owners.
Yep.
We know where to use them, where not to use them. We're also all intelligent enough to know that there's a lot of idiots out there that don't.
Yeah.
So kind of like talking about all these different choice type things, and what we love about this country is our ability to make those choices. But those choices have consequences. So the choice is, I have a Second Amendment right. If I want to bear arms, I can. If it's an AR, this, or that, as long as it's legal, I have every right to possess that. But we also have to understand that the opposite end of that is you're a very responsible gun owner. You are, I am. This idiot wasn't, and he's killing children. So is it worth it? Is it worth me playing G.I. Joe, which I am? I was never in the service, The gun looks cool as shit. I mean, if I showed it on this, it looks badass. And it was fun as shit to shoot. Is it so fun that if tomorrow, hey, these are gone, too many idiots out there, and which, by the way, we've done several times.
Yeah,
so
93.
I wasn't around, when the car was first invented. I'm assuming there was all kind of idiots speeding around, and somebody said, wait a second, guys, we're going to come out with this thing called the speed limit because you guys are maniacs. And they posted this, and we followed that. And this goes through with pretty much every law that exists in today, that we realize drugs, alcohol, so on and so forth. I mean, people were doing cocaine. You could buy it at a grocery store, convenience store 100 years ago.
Coca-Cola.
Coke.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You just go to the grocery store, get a Coca-Cola and have a drink.
And people realize that, hey,
probably should stop putting
these
this
people are nuts. This isn't safe. There's some crazy shit going on.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a lot of people pissed off at the time. Hey, I'm perfectly fine. I have my bottle of Coke and I go and, I do this. I go on my wagon. What's the big freaking deal? And again, we always have to accept the fact that choices have consequences. But when we talk about zeroing in so much on what our differences are, that's what really taps that fear. You're taking away my rights. You're taking away my choices. You're taking away. And in the midst of all that, you're fighting so hard for that. We're losing sight of, okay, I hear what you're saying. What's the consequence of that? And making a sound decision that, all right, I see the consequence of that, and I still feel like I should be able to do this. And nobody's having that conversation, by the way.
Well, the gun industry doesn't want those bans to come because then it's going to affect their bottom dollar. So what they do is lobby. And then when they lobby, the politicians that they lobby with, and however they do it, giving them stocks, giving them whatever it is, whatever legal means that they go through to do it, then they get them to support, whatever agenda they're supporting, and to keep the public interest in purchasing all these cool guns that we have, because they don't want to lose their bottom dollar. Now, when they put a ban on cocaine and opium, because you could buy opium in the grocery store, for a period of time before they was like, we should probably ban that.
This shit is great.
Yeah. You just get a little bit of opium, go down there. You could send your kid to the grocery store and get it. And the same thing with Coke. Nobody lobbied to keep that cocaine in that recipe. And nobody was saying it's my right. I'm American and it's my right to have cocaine in my soda. If it was today, that's what would be saying. That would be on a fucking sign somewhere about how, if you want to drink sweet Coca-Cola, with cocaine in there, it's your right as an American to do so. And honestly, it is, but there's consequences to that. So in the 80s, they had to ban on the speed limits on cars. So if you look at any car from the 80s, even if it was a digital dash, it only went up to 89 or 99. No dashes went over 100. And that didn't go away until 93 or 94 because the speed ban and the weapons ban stopped in 93, I think. I may be off. I'm spitballing. They're really close. I know the assault weapons ban was in 93 when it stopped. And the speed one was in the 90s. But I know that if you look, just think, we've all probably had cars from the 80s. I have.
Right.
And
no, for sure.
I'm telling you, my dash was double digits.
Yeah, no, you're right. Now thinking about it. And in talking about this, it's not advocating one way or the other. It's not the point of the podcast. No. More than happy to have those conversations. The point of it is, are we having them conversations from a genuine place where we're looking at our commonality instead of what separates us? So instead of being so set in this side, that side, it's two parties going, you know what? I completely understand, Alex, you're a hunter. You like this rifle because you're able to do such and such and such. Completely get it. But wow, there's these wackadoos that are doing this silly shit all the time. Is there another rifle that you can use that has the same effectiveness? And Alex, from a genuine place, saying, yes, there is. No, there isn't. And okay, well, no, there isn't. All right, well, I get that. So can we go from this to this? So do you need 30 bullets to shoot a deer? No.
Just need one.
Yeah. So
finding some, some common ground.
Just need one.
With all this, and being able to be honest, folks. My AR is cool as shit. I am Daryl when I hold it. I mean, I am G.I. Joe personified. Yeah. It is awesome. I never got to be G.I. Joe. I used to play that shit as a kid, never, realized that dream. But I'm adult enough to be able to understand that I'm playing, make-believe. That this shit is not going to happen. And if it does, so God forbid, Armageddon's happening, we're a faith-based podcast, that AR ain't doing shit for you. Mm-hmm. Hate to bust your bubble, the devil or whatever else coming is laughing at your AR. And if you claim to be a Christian, you ain't going to need it anyways because God's taking you that day. Mm-hmm. So you ain't going to be here to fight shit. And again, it's being able to have those sincere and honest conversations. And when we and being Italian, everything kind of revolves around food. What I get a kick out of is we love our differences when it comes to food. Mm-hmm. I want Italian, I want Mexican, I want American, I want French, I want Chinese. We love that. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to people, not so much. So love the food, stay the hell where you're at. Bring that stuff coming. And when you really think about it, what we enjoy about the food is the differences. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The different flavors, the different traditions that go with it, the thoughts that go with it, the ingredients that go with it. They all bring wonderful things into our lives that our taste buds are like, this is fantastic. And we understand that on a base level. When it comes to people, because of that fear that we were talking about earlier, and even with food. So there's been plenty of times where I'm not eating that shit. Mm-hmm. That looks funky as all hell. And I eat it and I'm like, oh my God, it was fantastic. One of the best things I've ever had.
That's going to be venison when I find
it. We were talking about me being Italian. I'm not a big fan of, I was telling you with the squid.
Squid, yeah, calamari.
Calamari. Yeah. Not a big fan of grilled calamari. I went to a very well-known restaurant in Chicago, La Scarola. I'll plug you for our 30 listeners. But went to La Scarola. What would you recommend? You got to have, the grilled calamari. And I'm like, ooh, don't really do grilled. You have it fried, yes, but you got to have the grilled. It was one of the best things I've ever tasted in my life. And the point of that is, we understand that on a basic level. Yes. We understand that variety, these things are great, wonderful. When it comes to people, it becomes a whole different dynamic because now that fear starts seeping in. Mm-hmm. We don't want these immigrants coming in because they're taking our jobs. Okay, what? Somebody explain to me the jobs they're taking that you're so worried about.
Show me one.
Please, let's start talking about that. And that's another example. So, very quick story. These guys have collectively got me into golf. Mm-hmm. Super diverse sport, by the way. One of them is Black Daryl. One of them is a big Mexican, Danny. Mm-hmm. We do have a white guy, elderly, Vern, that's involved. Alex, there's another Mexican guy too.
Mexican and Puerto Rican.
Mexican, Puerto Rican. So he's got both of those covered. Super welcomed at all of the different golf clubs across
you want to talk about looks? You should see
Illinois.
All of us are on the golf course together.
So anybody that knows me knows that, obviously I'm going to golf. I got to have some cool shit. So there happens to be a beautiful Air Jordan 1 that's out there that I was 100% convicted on. I absolutely must have in order to play this sport. So I'm going to leave the amounts off because my wife will punch me in my nose. But I bought one pair, never came. Bought another pair, never came. It's kind of chalked up the fact that this just doesn't happen. I'm several hundreds of dollars into Air Jordan 1s that never manifested themselves. The big Mexican guy, Danny, shows up to work, who's new on our crew. Had some exchanges with him, has kind of been around us for a while, but, has come onto our team, but we're not best friends by any means. We're cordial, we're cool. Friendship is definitely becoming there. I walk in the next day, he brings in Air Jordan 1s. And I was like flabbergasted. So I was like, how incredibly thoughtful was that? I didn't say, hey, if you know anybody, could you find me him? I didn't say absolutely shit to him.
On his own accord.
All his own accord. Took his time out, was like, hey, I know a guy that might be able to have him. Drove to the place, got him, put up his own money, did all that stuff, came into the next day to the store with no rhyme or reason to doing it other than, because I was like, you're going to have to do that. And when people do things for you, you could usually tell intent. And especially, I'm the boss, so okay, guy trying to suck up, is he doing it for this reason, that reason, that reason? He was completely dumbfounded that I was dumbfounded on why he did it, because I was like, dude, that was incredibly thoughtful. And it was nothing to him on that level. It was, I thought I could do something, so I did it. It was very that simple.
Yeah. Very genuine.
When you start going down that, so that obviously says a lot about how he was raised, which both of his parents were immigrants, if I'm understanding correctly. So what kind of kid did they raise? Look what kind of man he's going to become. His life is relatively young guy, still has a lot to offer the world. I'm thankful for that person in this world, let alone welcome into this country. And that's a guy that, he's a big boy. I'm sure people who, to keep them out, people are like, oh, that guy's intimidating. Who knows, he's going to do this. It was incredibly thoughtful. There's not many people that do that, period, let alone for somebody you barely know, let alone for no rhyme or reason. I was like completely taken aback. And I don't think he realizes that told me a lot about him, a lot about where he came from, a lot about the people that raised him, his parents, the pride that puts on all of them, and what it says about his people. And the beautiful part about that is, as wonderful as Danny is, he's not the only one out there. There's a lot of incredible, just like the food, there's incredible people out there that if you put the fear down a little bit, you're going to meet people like that. And every time I failed to do it, just like the food, I'm always missing out. There's always somebody I meet out there that I'm like, holy shit, this is somebody I would never normally talk to. And my life is enriched from it. I don't know if you guys have had experience like that. And thank you, brother Danny, by the way.
Yeah, I have a lot of experience like that. Middle Eastern experiences. I know a lot of Asian people. I know a couple guys from China.
So not to cut you off, what I found extremely fascinating in your particular case is you were overseas in the midst of all that, and we were kind of talking, what's the sniper movie?
Chris Kyle's movie, American
Sniper.
Yeah, American Sniper.
Yeah, so we were talking about that a little bit. And there's a point in the movie where, a kid's going for an RPG, and he's really struggling, pull the trigger, not pull the trigger. And Daryl and I were talking about that a little bit, as he was spending time there. Was everybody becoming a target? Did it start getting mixed as to who's the enemy and who's not? And you can elaborate on that, Daryl.
You do get that mix because the thing that was different in the recent wars is that you weren't fighting clothed, easily identifiable uniforms. So prior to the war on terrorism, you could see, even with the Viet Cong, you could tell who most of the Viet Cong were. They did have some guerrillas that you couldn't, but World War II, you were fighting a uniformed force. World War I, the Korean War, Vietnam. And so when you got to this most current war, you were fighting civilians who just happened to live there. And I understood how sometimes you would get people who would hate everybody over there because they couldn't identify who to hate and who not to hate. But if you look at humanity, you're taking humans in as humans first. It was hard for me to do. So even being over there and being in firefights and combat and seeing people get hurt and stuff like that, I never hated anybody. Now, I may be like, emotionally defunct because I'm just like, this person I can engage this person right now and then not engage him tomorrow if I'm not sure because I'm not sure. And so for me, I just could never hate anybody over there because I looked at them as people who, imagine if a force was here with trucks and tanks and shit rolling through our neighborhoods, we would be those same people. It would be roles reversed. So I kind of had some empathy for them and some sympathy. And I understood what he was going through in that scene. They actually talk about that scene in a lot of our training too. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you do?
That was a rough watch.
Kids, and they study us. So even though they were civilians and stuff like that, they knew that we had rules of engagement. And typically our rules of engagement is we don't shoot women and children, and you don't shoot unarmed people. Civilians. So if you appear unarmed, the likelihood of you getting shot is very minimal. So that started in Vietnam too. That's why a lot of Viet Cong snipers were women. Because they could pass through certain places that men couldn't. Because in our American Western mindset, we look at it's called MAMS, military age men, and that's anywhere from crazy enough like 9 to like 70 is a huge gap, and that's who you look at as threats. Old enough to wield a weapon and be mobile. And they just, for some reason, excluded women because our sexism was like, no, women can't use a gun. Mm-hmm. And the Eastern, philosophy was like, yeah, just use women.
Right.
So some of your most notable, took a lot of U.S. soldiers out in Vietnam were women. And then in this war, they started to do the same thing. So all of your suicide bombers and stuff like that were, sadly enough, women who either disgraced their family or something like that, or children who had deficiencies. So if they had a kid that was what we would consider to be a special needs children here, over there they would use them as suicide bombers or whatever kind of distraction they needed, and they would be compensated financially and then compensated however they can compensate throughout whatever faith they were trying to attach it to. Mm-hmm. But so knowing stuff like that, I could only be empathetic to it because to me that's sad and it's a tragedy. Mm-hmm. So seeing that scene, I understood because he's like, I don't want to have to shoot this kid, right? But when you break it down to like a you or me, do I go home or does this kid go home? Then you have to be right with yourself and do what you have to do. But it was tough. I remember reading that and watching it, and
it was a tough watch. But I mean, I found it fascinating that, especially for, how much you were engaged in that, especially there, it was never, hey, I'm not taking any risks. These people are all the enemy. Yeah. I don't know what I can't tell what's what. If you look this way, you're wearing this, I'm going to assume that you're a problem until otherwise. I found that amazing. I mean, got blown up twice.
Yeah, one in the truck and one in the gym.
So, and it wasn't like it was a walk in the park for him by any stretch of the imagination, shit going on, watching all kinds of mayhem and chaos, and to be able to ground yourself and everything he just said and be able to say, oh, wait a second, we're definitely at war. There's definitely the enemy and there's definitely not. And I'm not going to combine those two.
Right.
Coming from somebody who had, by every mental faculty, be able to say, screw this, I'll figure that shit out when I get home. I want to get out of here alive.
Well, yeah. Survival mentality.
Yet we can't do that here when there is no threat.
Right.
We're seeing every day, this race is doing that race is doing that, danger, be careful, blah, 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 blah. And don't get me wrong. I mean, from the south side of Chicago, it's happening more than I would ever like to see in our beautiful city. But when you really start to extrapolate that by, okay, for how often is that happening, of what population, it's still extremely small. Mm-hmm. And then to judge a whole race, whole people, all this different stuff out that you get in real sketchy ground. And again, it really comes down to when I said that we could have talked about this being, you know, a lion among sheep, because that's that sheep mentality. So if I'm scared, I want you guys to be scared. Because if we're all scared, everything's good. There's nothing going on here. So if we all go right now, beautiful Manistee, Michigan, love you, and hey, we're going to jump off this ridge and into the river down below, and we're all like, screw that. It's not happening. We're walking away fine. When Brad goes, I'm going to try it. And he goes down. He's like, oh, my God, it's so incredible. Us three are like, ah, shit. He made it.
He made it.
Now we have to try it.
Yeah.
And then all it takes is the next knucklehead to go, you know, fuck it, I'm going to try it.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then Alex goes, and me and Daryl are like,
that's how it works. Yeah.
oh, shit. And, you know, oh, my God, it's incredible. You guys got to do it. And that's kind of how that type of stuff works. Because once you start losing that power of fear, now you start looking like a coward. You start looking like a punk. Mm-hmm. So these people that, and there's definitely an agenda. The agenda is to scare the shit out of you because they're scared.
Right.
Yeah.
And they want you to be just as scared. And there's people that there's very popular one out there. Scared little weasel bitch that's afraid of his shadow and wants you to be just as afraid of his shadow. Because as long as you are, he's not a coward anymore.
Right.
He's not a little bitch anymore. We're all the same. Yeah, look, we have valid reasons for all this stuff. We should be scared shitless. I mean, we literally just watched, you know, people storm the Capitol all based off of fear. You know, this was bullshit. This vote was illegitimate. There's no way that guy won over my guy. Look they said this and this happens, which happens every voting, by the way.
Every election.
So I can be the first. I voted on every election I possibly can. There's some I walked away where, how the hell did that happen? Mm-hmm. And there's some that, you know, I was totally happy with. Never was I taking away your right because you voted for the other guy. Did I say, no, that can't be? Because there's no way that's possible. Well, if there is a way, it happened. So, but we build on that fear that, oh, we're losing our country, we're losing our values, we're losing our Christian ethics. Look there's gay people out there, there's people kissing, there's, you know, trans people out there. These people can't even decide what the hell they are, and they're infiltrating. I don't know if you guys remember, now looking back on it, this shit was hilarious. But was it Obama or Clinton that dealt with the gay stuff big time? And it was like everybody was afraid that, oh my God, we're all going to become gay.
No, that was in Obama's.
Yeah. Obama? Yeah, I remember watching like the public talks, and that was like a real thing. Like gay was contagious. Like if there's gay people, my kid's going to see that and want to be gay.
It was
like a sincere conversation.
It was big in Obama's. Clinton had it with wasn't the Harvey Milk stuff in Clinton's era? Might
have been. I just remember why, and I was like, what the hell are we talking about?
I might be off on that.
And that is the power of fear. They hype us up on that stuff, scare the shit out of us, and now, Alex got tattoos, stuff like that. I just read something yesterday that guys with tattoos are beating the shit out of guys that look just like me. No thanks. Mm-hmm. And so we pass on these incredible experiences that we can have of meeting an incredible person like Alex, Brad, Daryl, Danny, all these people, because fear wins over. Mm-hmm. And when we talk about Lionz Den, being a lion among sheep, we don't have that convenience. As Christians, we don't have that. It's taken away from us second we believe in Christ.
It's not our job to judge.
No, it's not.
Not even in our arena. Mm-hmm. And we have to accept that because we accept a God. Yep. We accept a Savior. And that Savior said all of them. So what a lot of people forget, that Christ was murdered because he wasn't what he was supposed to be. which was the Messiah was supposed to be. So the Jewish people were held captive by Romans. They were slaves to Romans. Messiah was supposed to come, kick the shit out of the Romans, bring the Jews back to the lands. And Jesus came in and said, yeah, that's not what I'm here to do. We're going to love each other. I'm letting all these people in. I'm not here to, I'm more than a conqueror, from Paul. And people are like, hey, this is bullshit. Wait a second. We're supposed to get our shit back. What are you doing? What's this love shit?
Right.
And it kept building and building and more fear and fear. People were sitting at these things and what's this tax collector doing here? This guy's the worst. He's like, that's my brother. I love him. Yeah, but he sucks. I don't want that guy at my table. Everybody is at my table. And this is throughout the New Testament that many of us as Christians like to kind of put that stuff aside. The immigrant stuff makes me sick to my stomach as a Christian because Christ was an immigrant. It's not, when he was going into areas that wasn't all his. The next level of Christians were immigrating to other countries, sharing that word. Imagine if they got treated like that. So again, we love to look at our differences instead of our commonality because it just feeds our fear. And then we're perfectly fine being afraid because then everything's normal. Hey, we're all afraid. Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, it's like I said, the reason with politics for me that I don't really get into it is because I really don't care. I don't care who's running the country. I don't care who you voted for. Doesn't change anything. I don't care your sexual preference. So because you'd prefer to be with somebody that's the same sex as you doesn't mean that we can't have a positive relationship and I can't grow and better myself by being around you. I just like that concept. I can't even fathom. Like, I don't understand. I mean, we have private conversations offline all the time where you have to tell me like, you can't hold people to the same standard as you in the way that you think because people just aren't either there yet or they don't want to think like that. And that's okay. So like politics, religion, creed, what you make for a living, what you do for a living, I really don't care. What do you have as a human being at your core? The thing that we have in common is we are human beings. So what do you as a person have to bring to the table that, I would enjoy? Maybe that's conversation. Maybe that's an activity, whatever that case may be. That's good enough for me.
Right.
And you could have the complete opposite beliefs of me, but if you positively enrich my life, I'm good with it. I don't give a shit. I don't know why that's so hard for people. Like, why is it so difficult? Like you said a couple episodes ago, like, I feel like if modern day Jesus showed up, I feel like he'd want to hang out with people like us. Just kind of laid back, don't really care where your head's at. What are you like as a person? I mean, I think that's how it all started. That's what it was all meant to be. And being people, being imperfect, we added our selfishness in, we added our agendas in, we figured out what it looked like to manipulate other people for our own personal growth. And it was just a domino effect from there, just one after another. And it just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And you talked about it, I think, on episode 1, when we talked about the story of Daniel, we talked about the Catholic Church and being a Catholic, being a Christian, sometimes that brings some weight when you say it because of some of the terrible things that have been done and that have been covered up by the Catholic Church. All that was done by fear instead of just being, hey, this is what was going on. We had no idea what was going on. This is what we're doing to stop it. This is not what we stand for. But instead it was, well, we're going to lose voters or we're going to lose people that want to join into the faith if we tell them the truth. That's an agenda. And I think that's where, as I don't even want to say as a country, as just a species, being human beings, where we fall off is we take out our own personal agendas and we put that in front of what actually needs to happen.
Definitely. I mean, I think it's prevalent around the world.
Yeah,
I will say what made us unique, United States as a country, was we were the ones where, again, I might be dating myself. Then you guys remember that corny commercial that was in on Saturdays? It was like it was basically a story of the United States being the melting pot. Mm-hmm. You guys remember that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So I remember watching that and being like, yeah, that's cool. Right. You know, you're right. We got everything here. Mm-hmm. You know, we have Asian, we have Italian, Irish, black, white, Hispanic. Cool. And that was really the United States claim to fame. And make no mistake about it. History, we know. Every single people that came into this country went through hell. Mm-hmm. So let's not pretend like they didn't. Mm-hmm. Every single one did.
Yeah. I got a lot of friends that are immigrants. I got a friend from Burma you met last year, the guy who served with me.
Yeah.
Shaw. I got a friend from Senegal. These are people I talk to regularly too. A lot of friends from Mexico and stuff like that. And talking to them, just casual conversation. I wasn't like interviewing them, but a lot of them said that the draw to America was that.
Absolutely.
Is that outside of America, we are viewed as a melting pot where you can go here and regardless of where you are, there's a community that's going to accept you. Mm-hmm. That community may not look like you, you know. So specifically my friend Chaw from Burma, he said everybody in Burma, which is Myanmar now, same place, looks like they're from Myanmar. Mm-hmm. Looks like they're from Burma. Mm-hmm. He's like, everybody looks the same. Here in my neighborhood, and he had bought his first house, he was the only Asian in his neighborhood. But his neighbors were black and the people across the street were white. And it was completely mixed. Mm-hmm. And he really liked that. You know, like I see some of everything over here and I wouldn't have saw this, you know. So we have that as an advantage as a country, but we kind of trying to take it away for, I don't really know what real reason.
Fear.
Yeah, fear. Outside, it's fear, yeah. Mm-hmm. But that is something that we're known for, and it's a very positive thing.
Absolutely.
You know? I don't get how we're going to use fear to tear that down.
I've said it before. I'll say it again. Fear is the ultimate motivator. So if you can, you know, I've used it before. I've been in altercations and you can instill that fear on somebody. It usually works to your advantage. And it's kind of a case of that on a much larger scale. We kind of talked about, you know, conversations and talking. I think a lot of where we're at today with this great divide, I would say people that are listening, all 30 of you, you know, go have a conversation with somebody you might not normally have a conversation with. Because if we can start, you know, this movement of just maybe somebody reaching out to somebody you normally wouldn't and just talking person to person without an agenda, without fear, you may learn something. Yep. You may learn you like grilled calamari. You know, you may learn
delicious.
Yeah, you may learn, you know, about, you know, tattooed guys aren't so bad. You know, and
mostly true.
Mostly, but you know, it's really
it is
feeding the stereotype.
I'm kidding.
It's really like, you know, somehow we got away from that. You know, and I kind of realized that today. I was out in an event. There was a craft show and a bunch of people and stuff, and people were like, actually, because of tattoos, pulled, you know, me and my wife aside and wanted to talk to us about our tattoos. And I was like, I don't want to talk to anybody. You know, I talked to everybody at work. Like, I just didn't want to. But I realized, like, no, like, you should talk to people. Mm-hmm. You know, like, we've become so distant because the only way we converse with people is a little screen. And outside of that, we don't know how to do it. And you should talk to people. You should talk to your neighbor and, you know, the guy that looks different than you. Mm-hmm. And that's the biggest, I think for me, the takeaway of what we're talking about is there is this massive divide. And until we drastically change, it's going to continue to get worse. So be that lion. Go start a conversation.
To your point, just to touch back on tattoos real quick. If you think off the top of your head, if you could just name what's the 3 worst people you can think of in mankind, recent history.
I'll keep the ideas to myself, but yeah.
I don't know.
I got
just fucking Hitler. Zero tattoos. Not a one.
They weren't popular back then, though.
Yeah. No.
The question is, would he have them today?
I don't think so.
I agree.
I don't think so.
I mean, as he got older, he might have tattooed his mustache. As he started to lose his hair.
Maybe, yeah.
That would probably be it.
Ted Bundy. I don't think he had any.
No. I'm trying to think of the other serial killer's name. That like,
Ed Gein.
his neighbors were like, he was great. He would come over and help with stuff.
Yeah,
And
that's Ed Gein. Yeah, and Gacy's local.
Yeah.
Yeah, was.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, you said it at the
I
end.
can talk all day about serial killers. Anyways, go ahead.
The definition of being a lion among sheep. I mean, if it was easy to go out and talk to other people, this conversation wouldn't even be happening because the world would be a better place. I know that seems extremely dramatic, but like even me, like I know that talking to people and getting to know people I wouldn't normally talk to is a great thing. I talk about it constantly. I talk about how I love meeting new people. Flip side of the coin, my wife and I take our daughter for a walk about every night and take the same loop every single night, go to the same park. And we were like walking. And when you come around the one part of our neighborhood, you can go to the left, which takes you around by the baseball fields and it goes to the park, or you can continue down the sidewalk and it runs into the park. There's a couple coming. I'd never seen them before. Had an adorable little puppy with them, and Paisley, dad, that puppy. And I'm like, hey, go right. Those people are to the left. And Paisley's trying to play with that puppy, which means mommy and daddy are having a conversation. Right? Daddy's not trying to have a conversation. And I'm somebody who's very self-aware of the fact that conversation creates growth. My point of sharing that story is because you have to challenge yourself as a person.